We don't foreclose the possibility of more depositions, more hearings. We are in the process of getting more documents all the time. So that investigative work is going to go on. What we're not prepared to do is wait months and months while the administration plays a game of rope-a-dope in an effort to try to stall. It's really not contested what the president did.
Everything that you felt was so compelling in your lead-up was guesswork, was hearsay. There was no direct evidence of pressure on the Ukrainian government to do a certain act in order for the aid to go forward. I think it was a bad week. I think the American people are moving away from the Democratic position.
I haven't spoken to all 240 or so of my colleagues, but I don't think any Democrat in the Congress looked at what happened over the last 2 weeks and said, gosh, there's nothing there.
President Trump said the phone call was perfect. President Zelensky has said on numerous occasions that he didn't feel a pressure. I do. I think you have the transcript and you have the two principals on the phone call that have stated that. And after that, everything else is really just noise.
That I think this is an impeachable offense. And all of the senators, including our Republican colleagues, are going to have to make this decision. You can't just close your eyes to this. You think about back in Watergate, they didn't close their eyes when a paranoid president who was up for election and looking for dirt on a political opponent got involved in having people break into an office and steal information on their opponents from a filing cabinet. Well, this is the global version of Watergate.
I will not allow a trial in the Senate to go forward with my vote unless the whistleblower comes forward.
No, I don't think you should force a whistleblower, and I think Republican Senator Grassley of Iowa has been very clear on this. Whistleblowers are, the provision is in the law to allow them to come forward with information in many different ways across the government, and you do not want to mess with that. And
we had a deep interest in having the whistleblower testify until two things happened. One, we were able to prove everything in the whistleblower complaint with witnesses that had hand information. And second, the president and his allies effectively put that whistleblower's life in danger. The president said the whistleblower and others should be treated as a traitor or a spy, and we ought to use the penalty we used to use for traitors and spies, and that's the death penalty.
So, in terms of the substance, I think the quid pro quo is a red herring. I think there are only two issues in this case. Number one, according to Speaker Pelosi, President Trump asked for the investigation of a political rival. There's another scenario, and that is that President Trump asked for an investigation of possible corruption by someone who happens to be a political rival. The latter would be, if proven, would be in the national interest. The former would be in his parochial personal interest.
This has been the most narrowly tailored and controlled thing by Chairman Schiff, both in the depositions, which I was a part of, and in the Intelligence Committee. But as it moves over to the Judiciary Committee, they're going to lose more and more of that control.
It would go to Judiciary if we decided there needed to be a remedy. And, of course, the president, as we voted on, would have rights in the Judiciary Committee to be a part of that process.
What is open to question is whether members of Congress are going to do their duty. And whether there will be anyone like Howard Baker, anyone on the Republican side that is willing to put their country, their Constitution above the party or even the person of this president. Because